So in February of this year, I had gone out with a friend and it was kind of a difficult night out. And there was some conflict happening with the friend and there was a huge argument. And I remember thinking like, this is one of the worst nights of my life. Got home, woke up the next day. I woke up in the place of shame, but it wasn't like until 2 hours later that I realized I had no idea where my wallet is. We had club hopped and bar hopped like 7 different places. So I mean, the wallet could have been anywhere. I had no idea where it could be. My state of panic was an all-time high. We all know what it's like to lose a wallet, all the things that you have to replace, the security fears. And I felt like a moron, and here I am, supposed to be a responsible adult, and I lose something that's incredibly important to me. So I knew what I needed to do was calm down and start revising what happened. And so I did everything I could. I put on some meditative music pretty much immediately, calmed down, visualized it in my hand, tried to imagine that it was back. And I also did the action thing. So from that state, once I calmed down, I called some of the places I went to. Hey, did I leave my wallet there? And I reached out to anyone I could have come into contact with if they saw my wallet, and started that process. Now, usually by this time I would have gotten my item back. That's what I was used to in this manifesting journey, that in a few hours I get that thing back. But that wasn't what was happening this day. Even though I was revising everybody's nose, and I had a strong feeling I would get my wallet back, but I knew that the shame story I had about that crappy night had something to do with why this is difficult for me to manifest this back. And so I persisted. I tried every technique I could think of. Mostly, I remember visualizing it back in my hand. So I did everything I could from a visual perspective, from a pure visualization, imagination, sensory perspective. And then I also imagined telling my mom, who I told that I lost it, Mom, I found the wallet back. Or told my friends, hey, I found that wallet back. But it was really difficult that first day. But then I started to pick up the pieces. I apologized and made up with the friend. But I paused all the cards. I didn't cancel them, but I paused them. And I still held on the faith. And then I actually flew to India. So 4 or 5 days, I have not got the wallet back. I'm flying to India. So I'm still every single day, though, at least a couple of times a day, imagining the wallet back in my hand, revising people when they responded back to me. Oh, I don't have your wallet. Sorry, Shveta, I looked, I couldn't find it. And I'm still visualizing it back in my hand. And what was interesting, I have to say, is that I told people I'm going to get my wallet back. So one takeaway I have from this is, how there's advice of tell no man. In this case, I told everybody I'm getting my wallet back. I told my concierge, I told my friends, I told the girl I lost the wallet with. I was like, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to like prove to all these people. So anyway, I'm in India, no wallet back, but I have to say nothing happened where I needed my wallet. There was not even one instance where I needed the wallet. I know that sounds wild, but like, my family would easily pay for something, or like they were cool with it. When I got there, there was, my grandma gave me some cash. Like, I mean, like, I just genuinely didn't need the wallet. So that was kind of interesting. I didn't feel the loss of it. Okay. So that my revising and my imagining meant that I didn't feel the loss of the missing wallet. So I get to India and then I lay down. This is a great day. I had a great day, feeling really good about myself. It felt like, a lovely, wholesome time with the family. And I decided, okay, let me visualize it. And this time, as I'm visualizing it, it is so real. I almost felt like I could grab it from the ether. Like, that's how much I had visualized this damn thing. I actually thought I could grab it. Like, that's how realistic it was. So I'm sitting there visualizing it. I'm feeling it. Like, I almost feel like I could grab it. And I get a message right in that moment. I look at the message and it's a picture. So it says image. I don't know what the image is. It's just image. And I knew even before opening it, that was my wallet. And it was from this random man that I met that night that was like, hey, is this your wallet? I found it. And even before I opened the image, there it was. And I got it back. And I could tell everyone that I said, hey, I got my wallet back, that I got it back. And this was weeks after.
But like, still, you wake up and like you're in a state at first, and then you realize that the wallet's gone. So like catching that immediately and being like, hold on, I'm not going to surrender to this. Rather, I'm going to start to use the processes that I know work. Like you said, you put on some meditative music, you start to catch a new mood, move your mental and emotional, physiological, psychological, spiritual state, kind of start to move that along. And then start applying the techniques of visualizing that it's back, solving whatever outstanding issues for, and then also taking action that would be in alignment with what a responsible adult would do to get it. Although it is interesting to point out that it was not those actions that led to
No.
the recovery of the wallet.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you could have done no action and you still
Mm-hmm.
would have gotten that wallet back because of
Mm-hmm.
the way that it played out. So
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
interesting to note that. So it's like, they say, God helps those who helps themselves. And we understand God is imagination, right? So it's like, our imagination is going to support, but it's also up to us, to take action we feel inspired to take. It's
Exactly.
interesting still to note that that is not what returned
Mm-hmm.
the wallet. Because if it was, then people would have said, oh, that would have happened anyway. Of course, he would have called the bar and they've been like, yes, Miss Shweta, we have your wallet
Yes.
and waiting.
Yes.
They'd be like, oh, that would have
There's
happened anyway.
something to be said about
Yeah,
the story aspect
yeah,
of
yeah,
this,
yeah.
of like the guy telling me there's no way you're gonna get it back, and
No.
me having that sad face, and then me having to wander the streets of Toronto a little bit depressed. Like it kind of added to the storyline of that win in the end when I got the wallet back. And for me, the action aspect that you're talking about here, I really have struggled over the years of being a Neville student about action. And
Mhm.
I've uncovered a lot of different truths about what action actually is. But when I was acting from, which I had had enough experience to know that I shouldn't act from the negative place, that I should at least act from a faithful place, what I was demonstrating to myself is, like you said, what does a responsible person do? She goes and tries to find it. I have faith in getting this back, but I would, do what, render to Caesar what is Caesar's. I would do the action that makes sense in the storyline and not even put pressure on those things to get back my wallet, but to do it because that's what Shweta believes is the right thing to do, and in this point of time, without putting pressure on it. So I think that's a really important point you bring up, because sometimes we overcomplicate the role of action, but it's what you think is the right thing to do. You do it with a little bit of a detachment because you know it's already done.
That's
So
a key
it
point. I don't want to gloss over that. That's a key point. So like acting from the state of faith. A key thing for me is the second that I realize that something is not where I expected it to be, I instantly stop looking for it. It's
mm,
like now I've just programmed, I instantly stop looking for it because I know that if I start looking for it, I'm now entering the state of not having. And so what I do instead is I instantly I'm like, oh, well, that's unexpected. Let me just go ahead and hold it in the palm of my hand in my imagination. Same way you did.
mm,
You got really clear on what it felt like and we're like, whatever. And so I do that. And then if I get a little inkling of like, oh, it's, I remember seeing it here or whatever, then I'll go and like look there.
exactly.
Right. But I'm not
Yeah.
just gonna like randomly search everywhere. I stop and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna look for this because looking implies not having. Right. So I'm in the state of finding. I'm in the state of I have found. I found it in my imagination. Now I'm just waiting for the world to catch up.
Mm,
Right.
And then I don't know if you've had this experience. It almost feels like a GPS situation where
Oh
you're like
yeah.
led to that.
Oh yeah.
So I totally hear you on that. And like I think when you are in a state of already having it, the body just seems to float into it. I've had that
Yeah.
happen so many times. And another thing I wanted to bring up here is the idea of not telling anyone about your manifestation. This is another lesson that came from me when I reflect on this manifestation, because for some reason I told everybody I could think of that I was going to get this wallet back. And I think it's because I already knew it was done. I had a sense of confidence about it. I had done this many times before and it felt right to do. And I say this because there's this another conflict I see online when people are like, tell no man, as if that's a hard and fast rule. But we see so many, for example, celebrities, I will tell anyone since they were born that they're meant to be a star. And that's how they were able to create it. I think we need to relax on some of these hard and fast rules that we sometimes see online and allow ourselves to do what we think is right from an intuition perspective, say what we think is right, as long as it helps us tune into the end of what we want. So something to think about there. And I think that there was this sense of surrender that I had to come to with this. And that's another thing I think is important here. It's like I had to go to India. There was no more searching. There's nothing else I could do. And at that point, there was no actions I could take. And then everyone had told me it was gone, but I still continued to visualize. Like I just like continue to imagine. I didn't take no for an answer, but I did it in this surrendering way. And then when I got the wallet back, by the way, I want to mention, as soon as I got the wallet back, I was excited for like 2 minutes. Oh my God, friends, I got it back. And then it was back to normal. And it goes back to what Neville says all the time, that by the time something happens like that, you're gonna think, that would have happened anyway. It becomes so natural to
Yeah.
you that you kind of move on to the next thing. So
Yes.
I think this was a story that like kind of challenged some of the ways and to confirm some of the ways that Neville, some of Neville's advice. So if he said tell no man, he meant as a best practice, maybe not as the law, but when he said trust and surrender, that absolutely is true and worked out for me. So